Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with speaker, educator, storyteller, and chief motivating officer, Sam Thiara. He is consistently committed to the betterment of the communities as a speaker, educator, and a storyteller. Over the last 20 years, he has helped and supported 45 plus not-for-profit organizations, from establishing a strategic vision to engaging stakeholders to rolling up sleeves and doing whatever it is that needs to be done. As a community advocate, his passion is to inspire and motivate others in their personal and professional development. As a writer and blogger, he published his book, Personal Storytelling: Discover the Extraordinary in the Ordinary, to help others share their stories. He is a very fascinating person. Enjoy this interview.
Hey, Sam, thanks for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Hey, no worries. It's a beautiful sunny day in Vancouver. Where do I find you?
I am in Kansas City, Missouri.
Nice.
You know, I've been having quite a few rendezvous with what I do with my jazz, and there's been quite a few people on this platform, too, that are from Canada, and I have just been, I admire the fact that the government there provides health care for its citizens and really values the arts. I think the fact that musicians are able to get grants. So anyway, right up front, I just want to say, and plus, you know, Vancouver and Toronto and so many of these areas are beautiful.
Yeah, no, I live in Vancouver, and the best way for me to describe it is I'm 3 blocks away from the wilderness. I'm about an 8-minute drive to the waterfront, and then I hop on a passenger ferry, and in 12 minutes I'm in the heart of downtown. That's what I did yesterday.
I like it. That seems like a very healthy triangulation to be alive in.
Oh man, tell me, and that universal health care. I mean, you know, to be fair, it's not a perfect system, but it is a system that Canadians are not willing to give up. And the reason I say that is, my son had to go to a, emergency, not for anything terribly wrong, but just the fact that, we didn't have to go in, pay a bill, or what insurance have you got. We just gave our personal health number. And when we left, there was no bill, and we never see a bill. So I get it. Like, I think that's great. The challenge is, I have to go for an MRI, but it might be 3, 4, 5 months from now. We don't know. So there is that part of it, but equally at the same time, we wouldn't trade our places.
I wouldn't, definitely wouldn't either. So, as we head into this and we talk about the state of the world and everything that's going on, the elephant in the room has been COVID. Over these last 2 years, with what you do with your life, how has COVID affected you, and how are you feeling now that we're coming out of it?
Let me share this, and especially with your audience, is the fact that I think one thing that I did was, and this is the way generally who I am, is it's not that I live in a world of unicorns and cotton candy clouds and rainbows. COVID was serious. COVID has impacted every single person in the world. It impacted me with regards to, how I teach my university classes. But my mindset has always been uncertainty and challenges provide me opportunities. And out of this, I pulled this concept that I think is so important, that I think we need to embrace as individuals, teams, organizations, educational institutions, and nonprofits, is this need that we need to care. But what CARE stands for is collaboration, adaptability, resilience, and empathy. Those are 4 words that I think we need to embrace. Collaboration. I mean, I have, so much that I've been able to gain as experiences. I'm sure you do too. Everybody has the substance that they've developed over time, but how do we pull it together with our various resources to create something amazing? Adaptability means don't fear change. We've all had to go through change. But adaptability means this mindset of saying, okay, rather than the status quo, how can we improve the situation? And if you're collaborating, that feeds into the adaptability piece, because now you have more confidence going forward because it's a group or team effort. Resilience means this is a marathon. It's not over today or tomorrow. Resilience means let's realize that, we're in for the long haul, and that's, again, COVID or no COVID. Resilience just means building this into your life. If it's a marathon, there's some times where it's a beautiful day and it's flat plains and you're enjoying the run. But, in life, you're going to also have those hills that are going to be challenging. But you're preparing for those points, and then you become resilient. And the last word is empathy. I think in society itself, we need to embrace empathy. We need to show care and compassion to each other a lot more than what we've done in the past. And, you don't know what people are going through. And rather than making assessments and judgments, let's start talking to each other. Let's start asking each other, how are you? And tell me about what's going on, and things like that. So there is a need for us to care. Collaboration, adaptability, resilience, and empathy.
One way of defining or putting a title on who you are is to say you're a speaker, storyteller, and educator. But if someone was to run into you on the street and they were curious about you and they said, what do you do? What is it that you do? How would you explain that?
Yeah, my parents still don't know what I do. It's interesting because I think the best way for me to describe it is that, the way I would say is that there are 5 things that guide and direct me in life: servant leadership, story sharing, activator igniter, champion enabler, and a community do-gooder. Those 5 things have enabled me to help individuals, organizations, nonprofits, and educational institutions to their pinnacle best. I guess the best way for me to describe myself is I'm a very organic individual. In other words, I'm not a corporate person. And not to say if you're corporate, that's wrong. No, there are many people that's really well suited for them. But I'm an organic person who likes to look at the things around them, and instead of dwelling on a problem, I'm looking for solutions. So, for example, all of those things, I'm a speaker and a storyteller, I'm an educator, I'm a mentor and coach, a writer and blogger, an entrepreneur, a problem solver, and a community activator. Those are the things that has become my brand or has become the essence of who I am as an individual. And those opportunities come forward, sometimes by me reaching out, but equally at the same time, often in a very profound way, people are saying, you've got all of these years in a university setting as an educator and administrator, etc. So how can you support and help develop and build out our university? So I think the best way for me to describe it is you've got an organic individual who, as long as it hits those 5 things I said earlier, then I will embrace and I will do that opportunity because it really resonates. And again, that could be where it's speaking at an event, which I did last night, or it could be blogging where I want to write an article because, again, that hits those 5 things. It's all about how can I support and help individuals and organizations. I feel that I've been given a lot as experiences go, but the idea is I'm not allowed to hold on to it. I have to give it away. I have to share with other individuals or organizations. And by sharing, the amazing thing is even more comes back to me, and it's a reciprocal cycle that actually allows me to have a fulfilling life, I guess you could say.
So talk to me a little bit about your beginnings, where you were born and raised, and kind of how you started to get these notions of what you wanted to do with your life that have obviously materialized into who you are and the principles you live by.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a British-born Canadian and parents from Fiji Islands near Australia and grandparents from India. And, so my journey is a global one, I guess you could say. But the narrative, I guess, is very similar to what many people experience. I mean, I went to university, did my undergrad degree in business and political science, except when I graduated, I was not sure. I mean, I thought, okay, well, that's a great combination, business and political science. Who's going to be lucky to get me? But when I walked across the stage, shook the hands of the dignitaries, and sat down, I started applying for jobs. And you know what? It wasn't an easy ride. It was a bumpy ride that I wasn't prepared for. And, with business and political science, I have 86 rejection letters from companies who said, we don't have a job for you. We're not sure what you're looking for. Good luck. And the narrative had shifted from who's lucky to get me to, am I lucky to get a job? But I did get my first job. And it was an entry-level government job, which was working in a hospital, mopping floors and emptying rubbish bins as a janitor. I mean, that became a grounding force for me because it was like, okay, this is where I'm starting from. But I didn't look at it as a negative. Instead, I said, okay, this is where I'm starting, but this is not where I'm going to end. And I looked at it, and when I went forward, I said, okay, what can I learn from this? And as I learned from it, there were 3 lessons that emerged that carries me to who I am today. The first lesson is my father said, I don't care what you do, you have to do the best job possible. So there was no floor cleaner than at the end of my shift and no rubbish bin left full. And I still carry that mentality with me today. And anything I do, I have to put my top end quality on it. The second valuable lesson is there were times that I was, in an elevator with nurses, doctors, and administrators, professionals, and I was just ignored. It was like you just never existed because you're not a professional. I know what that feels like. So this is why I talk to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. I will never make you feel isolated or insignificant. So that's where I've had about 5,000 conversations to date. I do about 3 to 8 conversations or mentorship conversations a week just because people have this need to share who they are. And the third valuable lesson is, you know what, in anything we do, there is an opportunity to grasp and learn and add significance to who you are as an individual, even if it is being a janitor in a hospital, because and it reminded me that in anything we do in life, instead of going in with an absolute of this is good or bad, okay, what can I gain from this? And that mentality of always learning has really helped me in life and, again, become who I am. So the bumpy start, it wasn't then an easy trajectory because then I got into retail for a year. I could do the job. It's not me. Then I got into a corporate job. I could do it. It's not me. But the moment I stopped looking at what I was doing and started to focus the vision of it or the focus to who am I, and then once by understanding who I am, I realized the job that I was doing in the corporate setting just didn't fit. But then what is it that I did want to do? So I wound up finding another position, and this one was in corporate community relations and road safety, of which I didn't have any experience, but it aligned to the 5 things that were important to me that I wasn't willing to compromise. And it just felt more natural as a fit. And then from there, I got into road safety, thoroughly loved the job. It was the first time I could say, I love going to work on Mondays, engaging with the community and the public. But then I left that corporate job, and it wasn't because it was boring or anything. It was like, you know what, there's more out there. So then from there, I using those 5 things that I wasn't willing to compromise, and those 5 things have changed over time. I wound up working on the Olympic bid to get the games to Vancouver. Like, what an amazing project to work on. And then for the last 18 years, I've been working in the university, and they've been treating me really well, and I get to teach my classes. I've worked in student engagement, alumni relations, and just the whole focus and emphasis is the ability to work with these young individuals to help shape and mold them, not into what I think they should be, but help them realize their significance and their magnificence because it's there. But you just need that guiding support and hand who's going to help them. So it's been a rich and fulfilling life up to this point.
So you're obviously somebody that enjoys being around people, and you've affected a lot of people with your work. What has been the nicest response or fan letter, so to speak, that you've ever gotten from anybody?
Well, there's too many to mention, but what I can say is the number of honorary daughters I have right now, it's a huge amount, especially I would call them honorary daughters because they're either estranged from their families or they're international students, and they just sort of say, you know what, you are just like my father figure here. The other part that I will say is that, there are people I met like 18 years ago who I'm still connected to. And, there's no awkwardness to reach out or talk to each other, or they show up at my house, or they wind up being part of my life. I think that's a difficult question for me to answer just because the richness is there in such a multitude of ways. But, I would say having those honorary daughters, the ones that really, and it's not just this idea of, a symbolic, they literally become part of my family. And that's so many of these individuals. The other thing which I will add, which I did was, I also teach international students. And, there was back prior to COVID, a time when I was talking to a few of my international students. It's around Christmas time. I said, what are you guys gonna do? A number of them said, well, we haven't really thought of anything, and it's not really, we don't have anywhere to go. So I opened up my house. I had 25 of my international students come to my house for dinner. My family, we hosted them, and they were so thrilled and excited because they just had a sort of a North American Christmas, and they just reveled in it. And, and then a number of them said, so when are we doing this again? It was so much fun. So I guess that's what I would say is there's too many to describe, but every day I get something from one of these individuals, and it's just such an amazing feeling to be in that space.
So no matter what we decide we do with our lives, art's a big part of swaying us in one way or another. There's always that seminal album or book or something along those lines growing up that you remember. What was it for you? What book or album really made an impression on you that you go back to that inspires who you are?
Well, the album I would say is UB40. So it's a British band, sort of a pop reggae band. The reason I thought of UB40 is a lot of their songs, especially in the early stages, was about change, was about, it was about being and showing a difference in the world. So that became something that was important to me. More recently, I think that there's a couple of books that sort of really resonated for me, and this is much more present than anything else. And one was by Sir Ken Robinson on the element. Basically, the element says that we all hold something, and we need to tap in and find what is it that is our essence. So that was a book that's important. And The Storyteller's Secret is another one, which is about the art of storytelling. And it really resonated with me because as a storyteller, it shared what's an important story, like how to tell the stories. And it was more of a check mark for me to say, yeah, no, that's the stuff that I am doing. I mean, it's enabled me to then become an author of a couple of books myself and to have the courage to actually start putting my thoughts and ideas onto paper.
Who would you consider role models or a hero in your life?
Role models and heroes. I mean, there's a couple. Like, the interesting thing is people often ask me, well, you mentor so many people. Who are you mentored by, or who's your mentor? And it's interesting. I'll answer that question, but equally I'll throw this in, is the fact that I've never had a mentor. I've self-mentored, and that's been through my writing and my personal reflections, etc. But if it's talking about people I respect and admire, one is my father. I mean, that's a common one people might give. And my father, for example, when I was 9, he became a paraplegic from an industrial accident. And, we focused on the things we can do, not the things we can't do. And, he's provided his insights and wisdom to me. Other people that I've really respected and admired, one is, I've really appreciated Anthony Bourdain. He was an individual who really created this emphasis of exploring the world with our eyes open, and to not build perceptions that are going to taint or to cover our eyes with what we believe the world to be or the truths of the world. He opened the world to us in an amazing way, and he also helped me to realize that in life I am a traveler, not a tourist. A tourist wants to just to see the world. A traveler wants to experience the world, and he sort of resonated that with me. The other person the other two, one is Nelson Mandela, and I know that, again, he's used a lot, but for me there's a significance in his focus and emphasis was about this idea of resilience. I mean, to have an individual who spent so much hardship in a small prison cell but was never broken, I think resilience is the emphasis that it enabled me to say that no matter what happens in life, we must persevere and continue to guide us to where we need to be. And then the final one, who I really appreciated in more recent history was Barack Obama. And I mean, he's a charismatic individual who, went out and sort of, worked hard at, creating a global presence. And I thought that, he showed the world that, there is this need that we can have a global presence. And, it was not a perfect person or a perfect situation. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the States who would disagree with me. But again, I just respected him for the individual he was, because he was someone who seemed approachable and caring. And it just, again, reinforced in my life that I must be approachable and a caring individual.
There's no one in this country that we miss more than Barack Obama.
Yeah.
The rails have, not only has things flown off the rails have gone off, and someone like him who governed so well and did so much. And I will say this, for all the things that I do and don't know about this COVID virus, I do know one thing for sure. It was 100% the fault of Donald Trump by dismantling the office that Biden and Barack Obama set up to catch infectious diseases. They caught COVID-17 and 18 and made sure that it didn't become a global epidemic. And he dismantled and made sure that that wasn't going to be something that was going to happen. So at the end of the day, I think in a more magnanimous way, I don't think this would have happened if he was in office. And we do genuinely, most of us that think in a way that's not addled by conspiracy or off-the-rail theories really miss who he is and what he did. So I guess that kind of leads – go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and if anything, I'm sure that as Canadians, we would be more than happy to give him a citizenship to Canada and have him become our prime minister. I mean, I do like the prime minister we have. And again, it's not a perfect system. Everyone's trying to do the best they can. But equally at the same time, I think that even here in Canada, he would definitely be embraced as a leader in our country too.
Absolutely. So with that being said, it's a good lead into my next question, which is this. If you could meet one person that's alive today, who would you meet?
Well, if I could meet, Barack Obama, I think. I would love to hear more about his journey and story. I would love to have an opportunity to just be in his presence, because leadership is what I studied in my master's program, but leadership is also the way I describe it is leadership is not a place or position. Leadership is a lifestyle. And you don't determine if you're a leader. The people around you determine if you're worthy of that title. And I'd love to see how, with Barack Obama, there was an opportunity to learn from him about the fact that he had this way with people and listened and, just the way he engaged with people. I think that's the individual that I would really appreciate. Well, and, also Michelle Obama, if not Barack Obama, again, because I think that she epitomizes and is very approachable and caring as an individual. So either of those two.
Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, your clients, but ultimately you live your life. You have a perception of you. Who do you think you are?
So very good question in that, I'm an individual who really wants to not be a bystander in life. I feel the importance is the fact that I've been given so much, and this is what people would say is the fact that he is an individual who rolls up his sleeves, is willing to, go in and do what he can to improve, society at either a regional, national, or even international level. So as an individual, that's, I think, what would come out as, a caring individual who, has a lot that he shares, but also is not someone who will sit back, won't be a bystander in life, and just somebody that, is more than happy, gets so much pleasure and joy out of, supporting and helping organizations, individuals, and, educational institutions and nonprofits.
So I got one more question for you, and it's this. What would you like your lasting legacy to be? Obviously, you have much more work to do, but up to this point right now, and just when you think about what you're doing and what you've done, what would you like your legacy to be?
The legacy, I think, for me would be the fact that empowering the people around me, which I've done over the last 20, 25 years, to see them go forward with greatness. And as a result of that, to never forget some of the time that we spent together and the lessons shared. The legacy on that is, those everlasting stories that emerge, that, the reality, if you think about it, we all have a limited capacity. And what I mean by limited capacity is, when we eventually will be off the face of this earth, how many generations will pass before you are totally removed or erased from memory? So as a result, it's more of not this fear of being forgotten, but in other words, it's more of the fear of not supporting and helping and trying to do what I can to make this a better place. My legacy is really empowering and providing whatever I can to help individuals to become great in what they do.
That's great. Sam, hey, thank you for opening up. Thank you for taking time out and for the work you do. I appreciate it. It's been great to get to know you.
Well, thank you so much. And what I'd like to leave your listeners with is, my signature quote, which is, everyone's life is an autobiography. Make yours worth reading. Everybody has a living story in them. And, don't be afraid to share your stories because they're meant to be shared. But it also means that that's your significance in life. And let's not sit in this sense and idea of insignificance. But I'm happy to be listening to people's stories.
So one more thing, if anybody wants to know about your work and what you do, your history, anything more, where can they go on the web to find out?
Yeah, they can always visit my website, which is www.sam-thiara, thiara.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, and happy to either connect with people or have them, read the blog posts that I've done, and any number of ways that information is all there, so it's available for people.
Sam, thanks again. Good luck with everything.
I appreciate it, and thank you for an opportunity to share today.
Thanks for listening to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, and music around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.